Hello and a very warm welcome to Insight. I'm Amandra Bhatt. Today we talk about the assembly election in Tripura, with the state setting a new record for the country's highest ever voter turnout, with 93% vote polling registered yesterday. The ruling Left Front is eyeing for a return for a fifth straight time, which again is a record of sorts, and with the contest mainly between the Congress and the ruling alliance. In the next 60 minutes or so, we look at the assembly election in Tripura. And to discuss the same, we have with us in our studios, as always, three distinguished guests. Please welcome Mr. Kalyan Barua, Bureau Chief with the Assam Tribune. Welcome to Insight, Mr. Barua. Sitting next to him is G Suresh, Senior Journalist. Welcome to Insight, Mr. Suresh. And we are also joined by Professor Ashwin Ray, a retired professor from JNU, also a noted political analyst. Welcome to Insight, Professor Ray. Mr. Suresh, what according to you does it indicate a record 93% turnout, although it's not very unusual?
Well, yes. You see, not only in Tripura, but even at the peak of the insurgency, so to say, even in states like Nagaland, you had 70%. So it's a carnival there, elections. The boycott calls and violence has never deterred the people from coming out and voting. But the interesting part is that, you see, this time around there is no palpable anti-incumbency. Of course, the very fact that a government has been in power for 2 decades, that is good enough reason for anti-incumbency. But as such, the thing is that this time what is interesting about the Tripura election is that you have both sides claiming credit for resolving insurgency. You have the left party saying that it is because of our efforts that insurgency has been virtually wiped out, and they are leveling an allegation on the Congress that because they are with the indigenous that nationalist front, because of that they are cooperating with the former militants, because it is headed by a former militant. Whereas Congress is saying that without the support of the central government, this peace process would not have taken place. Right. So both sides are now claiming credit for ending insurgency. So I think that, but yes, unemployment is a big issue there in Tripura, and that remains to be seen whether people would choose between peace or unemployment. That remains to be seen. All right, interesting analysis. So Suresh, your take on the whole youth issue, the young voter. A good section of the population is young. They are voting for the first time, and this is going to be a big challenge perhaps for Manik Sarkar to be able to associate with the aspirations of the youth. Yeah, but at the same time, let us not treat the youth as one block. Youth is also divided, you see. And the left cadres are also there. The youth also belong to the left outfits, whether it's the students, Students Federation of India, All India Students Federation, the DYFI. I mean, you name it, they are there. So the youth cannot be put as a single block, first of all. And secondly, you see, over the last 2 decades, because they have been in opposition, the Congress machinery is not as well oiled as is the case with the left. Right. You see, left, you have not only the CPM, you have CPI. Of course, they are minor partners. You have the Revolutionary Socialist Front Party, RSP is there. So these parties have been there. They have got a well-oiled machinery which has been in place for a lot of. Whereas 2 decades, Congress has been out of power, and this has totally, in a way, kind of demoralized their organization as such. Secondly, a very crucial factor in this election is that last time you have had 2 important people, that is Pranab Mukherjee and Priyaranjan Das Munshi. These people used to really canvass across. I mean, despite their canvassing, of course, it did not yield much, but still, you see, they were very powerful, campaigners in Tripura. Mr. Mukherjee has now become the President of India, and Priyo is not well. Now, because of that, things have changed. They have lost 2 very good campaigners. So, of course, Mr. Rahul Gandhi is there. But then, as you have seen, whether it is in UP or Bihar, Mr. Gandhi is able to attract a lot of crowd, no doubt. But unless you have a grassroots level organization to encash on that.
So, Mr. Suresh, the biggest reason for left's popularity in Tripura is the kind of policies, particularly the kind of transparent policies that Mr. Manik Sarkar has followed.
And more than anything else, his personal charisma, his integrity, see, his honesty, his image, his clean image. I mean, he is one of the poorest chief ministers.
Right.
I mean, even otherwise, you don't have, 20 years, even the left could not, in other states, whether it's Kerala, you have had, the Pinarayi Vijayan matter, there were serious allegations about the Lavlin case and all that, And in West Bengal also, there have been allegations of corruption. But here, as such, there has not been a serious allegation of corruption, on any, even the chief minister or any of the ministers. Secondly, let us not forget that in Tripura you don't have a Mamata Banerjee. I mean, you don't have, in the opposition, you don't have a very strong leader who is a street fighter, who is out to root. Here you see, virtually there was, in West Bengal, it was as if there was a mission to uproot the left.
Right.
That was the kind of a, vengeance with which people went there, fought there, Here there is no such mission, or you don't have that kind of a leadership also in the opposition, which can counter either the charisma or the integrity of Mr. Sarkar. So that comes to and yes, no doubt the relations with Bangladesh has immensely helped the Sheikh Hasina government's total cooperation. But at the same time, let us not, the Northeast, these two, particularly the two main militant groups, whether it's the NLFT, National Liberation Front of Tripura, or the ATTF, these people are still there. The only thing is that they have been marginalized.
Right.
Many of their leaders have been handed over, they have been taken care of, but still we share a 865 kilometer virtually long border with Bangladesh. So there you cannot, there are still areas where fencing has not been done. So it is a big challenge, no doubt. So to rule out that yes, no doubt insurgency has come down, incidents have come down, but insurgency also, there is always a possibility that there would always be attempts to revive it. So that also remains one of the biggest challenges.
Oh, that is a big challenge. Okay, talking about the Congress now, Mr. Suresh, the man who's leading from the front is the young prince of Tripura, Mr. Pradyut Dev Barma. If you would tell us more about his profile, he's clearly trying to follow into his parents, especially his mother's footsteps, who was a Congress MP from Tripura in 1991. Royalty, how significant is royalty?
No doubt, royalty strikes a chord, an emotional chord. But then 2 decades of left rule, I think that has no more left in the people that charm. So let us, of course, no doubt that royal tag does help, but then let us also not forget that, you see, you don't have a very native kind of populace out there. That has to be remembered there. You have a predominantly, Bangla speaking population there, who may not, feel the same towards the royal family, as is the case with the, the tribals. Secondly, let us also remember one thing, that you see, when we talk about development, infrastructure and all that, at the end of the day, nothing can happen without peace. Peace is a precondition for development.
Right.
And that is where Manik Sarkar is taking the credit.
Okay.
That we were able to facilitate this. Now, Tripura has its own limitations because of access. Railhead is not there. You don't have the kind of infrastructure for which, to a great extent, he and his party can always blame the center for not taking the initiative. You see, that is there. Thirdly, let us also not forget that in cadre-based parties, they make it a point. You have seen it in Bengal also. This government employees, to a great extent, are basically, recruits of the ruling party in power. They ensure that a lot of their cadres are recruited into the government. I mean, that's a fact in almost all cadre-based parties. They do it deliberately. That also has its impact. But no doubt about it that 6th Pay Commission, parity with the state government employees is an issue. Now, whether the people would, as I said, whether the people would go for peace or they would, and the previous record of the previous Congress governments have not been very impressive. that they recall it with,
Okay.
So that is the reason why consecutively you have had, for 4 terms, you had the left parties coming.
Okay.
For the simple reason that people did not want a Congress thing. Now, with Mr. Rahul coming in, with a lot of, put it, a potpourri, a khichdi, manifesto, which is very attractive, no doubt about it, whether they would be able to implement it. For a simple reason that in Bengal you have seen that Trinamool, despite being an ally of the Congress and being part of the government, including at the center, they could not get the West Bengal package, that special package. You see, so being having the government in center does not necessarily mean that you will get a special economic package. In fact, it is Mr. Nitish Kumar's government which got a package, ahead of the presidential elections, rather than Mamata Banerjee's government.
Right. So Suresh, Congress's alliance with the INPT?
No, you see, as you rightly said, this has been a long, there has been there, and secondly, the Congress wants to send across the message that it wants to take the tribals also along with them. Irrespective of the fact that Bijoy Rankwal has not been able to, kind of woo the voters, the tribal voters, as much as, Congress would have liked them to. But at the same time, let us also, the comparison between, obviously, always it is between, Bengal and Tripura. But then the situation, as Professor Saab rightly put it, is different. You did not have a, Nandigram or Shingur there. You don't have a very sizable and influential minority votes, which can, kind of sway the, like it did in Bengal. So those are factors. So you cannot compare. The only comparison is that there is a left government here, there is a left government there. So, thirdly, you see, there is no strong candidate who can match up to the stature of Manik Sarkar right now. So in terms of image, in terms of stature, in terms of, so that is one disadvantage. And over and above that, there's a lot of factionalism within the Congress. Despite not being in power. Whereas, by and large, the CPM has been able to put a united front. There has not been much dissensions or disillusionment, as was the case in West Bengal. There is still, among the left parties also, there is no bickering. They are almost together, There may be minor differences here and there, but by and large. So I think that, yes, in terms of the Achilles heel, if one may call it, is no doubt the government employees, the 6th pay commission thing, and the financial packages which have been promised to the people. That there, because they are not able to answer whether even if Manik Sarkar comes back, will the central government, kind of support it the same way a Congress government. But let us also not forget that the central issues like corruption and, price rise, they don't really, in Tripura elections, unlike the states which are near the national capital.
Right, but Mr. Suresh, what about the aspirations of the tribal people? Because that is where the problems of underdevelopment are more acute, the sense of tribal alienation that is there.
But at the same time, you see, by and large, as I said, that it is, let us not say that they have been finished. There are still elements who will try to revive that, but by and large, peace has been established thanks to the initiatives of the center, the cooperation from Bangladesh, and undoubtedly the state government. Usually what the state political parties, for their political benefits, often compromise with insurgent groups. You have seen it in other northeastern states. But here, scrupulously, Manik Sarkar government has avoided any such connivance with them. And in the this 2 decades of this continuity in governance has also helped them to do this. You see, maybe if there was a, Kerala-like situation where every 5 years there was a change of governance, then maybe change of government, maybe, some of these parties there would also have indulged in the same kind of things. But because there has been a consistent 2 decades of, government, they have not at least resorted to that kind of act.
Okay, they have in fact taken some bold initiatives to counter insurgency. Okay, we've reached the end of the program. I'll give the last word to you, Mr. Suresh.
Just one aspect of, without raising that, the discussion on Tripura would be incomplete. In all this positive atmosphere, peaceful 93% polling and, voices against insurgency from both sides, taking credit. What is a little worrying is that the women representation has come down. You see, as against the 10% of the candidates in the last election, this time only 5% have been given. And last but not the least, even in constituencies where women have a higher population, even there women candidates have not been given by both parties.
All right, well, I have to leave it at that. I'm completely out of time. On that note, it's time for me to wrap up the discussion here. I'd like to thank all my guests for coming to the studios. It was a pleasure having you here, Professor Ashwini Ray, G Suresh and Kalyan Barua. That's it for now in this edition of Insight. Many thanks for watching. Goodbye.